Hey guys, you're listening to The Horror Show with Sean and Joe. This is Felissa Rose. Be afraid, very afraid.
Awesome.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Horror Show, the show that dissects, mutilates, dismembers, and butchers all of your favorite and not so favorite horror movies and other horror-related events. I'm Sean.
I'm Joe.
Guys, sorry for the delay. We had a giant snowstorm, and it kind of screwed up our entire schedule.
It did. Really pissed me off.
Yeah, it really sucked. So we'll have 2 episodes recorded this week, so now we are safe until sooner than we think.
Yeah, until next
we'll
week.
Turn around and we'll be like, God damn it. Yeah. But we are continuing on with the Tobe Hooper serial killer special. This is episode 2 called Tobe Excess.
Yeah.
With the 70s coming to a close, America is now entering the 80s. An era that would become infamous for its love affair with excess in just about every capacity. That era didn't start that way, though, and neither does Tobe Hooper's story. Actually, Hooper's arc in the 80s in many ways mirrors the landscape of American culture during this period. Tobe will not only direct his biggest film to date, but he will follow it up with 3 movies in the span of 2 years. Sounds impressive, right? Well, this is where our story finally begins to take its turn. From The Horror Show and the Fangoria Podcast Network, this is Serial Killer. All right, everyone. Welcome to The Horror Show. Episode 2, the Tobe Excess. Excess. Now, this title doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I really like it because I really like that 30 for 30 documentary, The Pony Excess. And you see that's a play on words of Pony Express.
Dude, I thought... I've seen that 30 for 30 twice, and I still thought it was just called the Pony Express.
No, it's the Pony Excess.
That's wonderful.
It's a genius name.
Yeah.
And I really like it. And then, so I called this the Tobe Excess. Now it has lost all meaning to a Pony Express.
Well, the 80s were excess.
Right.
And Tobe was probably doing a lot of things
in excess. For sure. And including... Well, we have to save it. Oh my God, there's so much to talk about. And we're prepared for 2 episodes worth of Tobe, so we have to pretend like we've only watched the 80s.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, kind of. I guess not. What am I talking about? Anyway, let's...
Wait, so we're not allowed to watch past certain decades?
We're stuck in our Tobe Hooper bubble. We're stuck in the 80s. We have to pretend like we don't know where his career is taking him.
It'd be a big shock.
Fucking stupid. The big reveal at the end. Bad news. We're both devastated. What? Like we're reading it as it's happening. It's so dumb. So let's review last week. Episode 1. We basically are introduced to Tobe Hooper. The world's introduced to Tobe Hooper in Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
One of the greatest.
Yeah. I mean, it is the best horror movie of all time.
It's definitely one of them.
It's the best horror movie.
I'm not going to disagree. I'm not going to agree.
You know who agrees with me? I found out.
Who?
Joe Bob Briggs.
Oh,
so I'm okay with it. That made me feel validated, vindicated.
I found an article from November 19th, 1974 from the San Francisco Chronicle, which I'm just going to paraphrase, but there was a lot of people that were very upset because The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3 was out in theaters, and that was rated R, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre was rated R, and people were very, very shocked when they would buy double features and sit through Taking of Pelham and then see the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and the town was threatening lawsuits against the theaters that were showing them for mental and psychological damage.
Well,
they said people were vomiting, people were getting sick in the theaters.
Come on.
Yeah.
Which is great because there's not even that much gore. Well, I mean, I guess there's a lot of violence, but not that much gore.
No.
Which is interesting. And by the way, I've seen interviews with Tobe Hooper. We'll get into it, but he really brags about how he didn't have to use gore in that movie, which is funny because in 2, somebody kicks a wall and just organs fall out. A fucking wall. Organs spill out.
2 is a piece of work.
2 is a piece of work, and we'll get into that. So 70s end. He's just wrapped up Salem's Lot, big hit, TV movie, but a hit nonetheless.
Yeah.
Big budget. And he makes a little movie called Funhouse. I'd never seen Funhouse before. I was very excited to see Funhouse. I just heard so much about it.
I made the claim last episode that it was the second best Tobe Hooper film.
Do you agree with it still?
I do. You do not, I can tell.
I don't know if I do or not. I mean, second best. I don't know. I guess if you don't include Salem's Lot. I really liked Salem's Lot. Yeah. The more I think about Salem's Lot, the more I liked it. But that's because I didn't just sit through 3 hours. That 3 hours takes some time to rub off.
I really, really enjoy Funhouse. I think it's a fun little movie.
There's a lot of weird shit in Funhouse, so.
And guys, I just want to give a quick disclaimer. If you hear a noise, my cat got spayed today, so she has a cone, and she's bumping into walls and all that. So
yeah, there's going to be a whole lot of noise because I've switched to paper partially. Usually my notes are on the computer, but I have a pad with me.
I see that.
Oh, but fun fact is it only holds half the notes on every movie. I don't know why. Oh, God, this is going to suck. All right. So Funhouse, 1981.
Yes.
Actor Kevin Conway is cited as saying Tobe Hooper was a huge cokehead during the production of this film because he consumed 12 cans of Coke a day, which honestly sounds a lot worse than doing cocaine. That sounds so much worse for your health.
I'm sure he's doing a lot of cocaine too.
Yeah, but, my understanding is he was. But
yeah, 12 cans of Coca-Cola is disgusting.
Yeah, it is. $7.8 million budget, which is enormous. Enormous. Like, would you say this? They must have spent every fucking dime of that on the carnival rides.
They had to. I mean,
because Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which to me is just like, the sets in that are just out of this world because it's a canon movie. So of course they're in a cave because every canon movie is in a fucking like over-designed cave.
I love canon.
Canon is diarrhea.
Not like, yeah, they're garbage. I love every second of it.
Have you watched the documentary yet?
No, I was
it's
actually
on Netflix.
After we finished our Tobe binge watching, I was going to watch the documentary.
Oh my God, it is fantastic. And it answers a lot of questions about shitty movies that you've seen in your life because you're like, oh, that was canon. Like Death Wish 2, or is it 2 or 3? I forget, but it's one where his girlfriend gets her leg broken and dies. She was raped, which is terrible enough, but they break, like, I don't know. This just drives me nuts. They raped her and they break her leg and the leg break kills her. And to me, why wouldn't you just have them shoot her?
Right, or strangle her. Yeah. Right.
Like, why write that into the script, right? But like, it's like, she broke her leg. It's like, oh, and then it's a hematoma. She's dead. What? What? That doesn't even make sense. Why even do that?
Right.
Why even do that? And it's like the worst death wish of all time. And I remember our friend Buzz Breadstick's dad, when we told him we were renting it, he was like, oh. It's like, why would you watch that? It's not even a real Death Wish movie. And now knowing that it's canon, it makes all the sense in the world.
Right.
It's so ridiculous. Oh, and he also has a little old man making him bullets. Like handcrafting him bullets.
My parents' first date was to see Death Wish 3.
Of course it was. Your dad probably loved it. Or hated it.
No, he loved it.
Okay.
He fucking loves Death Wish.
So Funhouse. $7.8 million budget. 814 theaters it opens up. And only earns $2 million in the opening weekend. $7 million gross. It makes its money back, but just barely. So
it's a shame.
It is a shame. As you know what? I mean, out of all the Tobe Hooper movies, this probably deserved better.
It did, definitely.
It definitely deserved better than
it's weird because the 70s and 80s are odd to me because more so back then, like you would think a big name director, people would flock to it, and like he had such buzz,
and he just came off of all those things.
But like Texas Chainsaw was huge, and then Eaten Alive was not, and then Salem's Lot was a huge hit, and then he's just so up and down.
Yeah, it really is. But to be fair, nothing bad.
No,
nothing bad yet.
I mean, Eaten Alive's not great, but
no, it's not great.
It's fun.
But I mean, you're coming off the heels of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I'm sure a lot of people called drivel and trash at the time, and
right.
You know, it works.
Yeah.
It works for the time.
Yeah, no, nothing like you'll see later on.
Shortly. Very soon. Very, very soon. Last thing I'm going to say before we get into this little flick. Siskel Ebert's quote. Siskel Ebert had a guilty pleasure special in 1987 where they talked about their, Siskel and Ebert talked about their favorite guilty pleasure films. Siskel says, "My final guilty pleasure, a film I'm embarrassed almost to admit I like, is a film that starts out like a mad slasher movie, except it turns out to be a rubber knife. Little brother's having fun with his sister, and I don't think I've knocked any other category of film more." If this sounds disjointed, it is. I don't think I've knocked any other category of film more often than slasher pictures, but this movie, The Funhouse, gets beyond that very quickly. So he loves it and hates it at the same time.
Yeah.
And that scene he's discussing is
I have a problem with that scene.
I have a humongous problem with
so it starts off just like it's a huge homage to Halloween. You're looking through the eyes of the little boy, obviously in a mask, walking through the house. Then it pays homage to Psycho because you see somebody in the shower. And at this point, you don't know it's the little boy. You just think it's somebody that's stalking, right? And, the shower scene opens. You see a girl. You see her naked. And this is the part I have a problem with because why the fuck would you want to see your sister that naked? She's stabbing her.
She's so naked.
Her boobs are right in his face.
Yeah, and he's like touching her.
She's annoyed, but she's not that. I would be
in the
furious.
shower. And in the shower. Like, it's, it's one thing to see your sibling naked. It's another thing to see him, like, not even just see him in the shower, but, like, be like,
he's touching her.
I'm looking at you. Like,
it's disgusting.
Yeah, it really is.
Fuck.
It's so vile. And this girl looks way too young to be naked. That was my biggest problem, honestly. I could not handle that. I found that very unsettling. She appeared to be 13.
I want to find out how old she was.
I mean, I'm guessing legally she was 18, but and she couldn't be a day older.
It was the 80s.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they still kind of protected children at that point. But she's super naked in that scene. And that is all just it's like a
cold open.
And then is it flash forward in time or like?
No.
It's just,
it's the setup to that night because she gets mad and she tells the boy she's not going to take him to the carnival.
Yeah. And then, there's like a weird family dynamic here. Do we really want to get into this that much?
No,
I'd rather dive into Texas Chainsaw 2 in depth.
Yeah.
All right. So to me, there was they did a lot of red herrings in this movie.
She was 19, by the way.
Oh, perfect. And none of them worked.
You didn't think the red herrings worked?
No.
Like what?
Like, every old person that was just like,
I like
watching you.
I don't know. I really like this movie.
I was like, none of it.
I like that hag that's yelling God watching you.
Oh, I liked her. I was just like, this is not. I know this is not going to pay off. I could already just tell. It's just too obvious. Like, it's just way too obvious.
Hey, do you remember the show Lamb Chops?
Yeah.
All the props in like the boys' room were from Lamb Chops because they were friends with that girl that sings. What's the lady's-
no, I don't. Sherry.
Yeah, Sherry Lewis.
Sherry Lewis. Yeah. Oh, so that's wonderful. Virginity is a big topic in this. It kind of is what gets them into trouble. One of the girls is a virgin.
Yeah, of course.
And yeah, so she's planning on losing it to this 47-year-old man that she's dating. And that is another weird dynamic. That whole dating situation is really fucking strange. I don't know who's friends with who or who knew who first.
Yeah, the kids were. Yeah. What about the carnival itself? Have you ever been to a carnival that has a strip club? Like a tent is just full of strippers?
No, that's so like.
Did those exist?
I think so, but like. In Australia and in like the 1800s. I don't think there was ever a time where that. I just there was a lot of ridiculous stuff in this. And it was really there was so much buildup where I was just like, well, who is it going to be? Like, can we just like move this along? And it really just hung out there.
Well, see, I like that aspect of it because. Like we said, we're not going to dive into it, but after the boys peeping Tom with his sister, she says she's not going to bring him to the carnival, so the boy walks to the carnival, and some guy pulls up and points a gun in his face, and the kid still walks to the carnival.
And he's like, "Get my car," and the kid runs away
because he asked him for a ride at the carnival. But the kid, dude, if someone did that to me, I'd go home so fast,
dude.
At the age of 30, I would do that, let alone a fucking 8-year-old.
Yeah. So the kid is basically trying to spy on his sister, it appears. Like is that what he's trying to do? He's like,
no, he just really wanted to go, but she said no. So
he's like following her around.
Yeah, he's just an annoying little kid.
Yeah, well, the kids go and try and have sex in a ride, which I think they accomplish. And then they witness a murder of a prostitute.
By a guy in the silliest, almost oversized Frankenstein mask ever.
So silly. The biggest Frankenstein gloves and the biggest Frankenstein mask.
The mask is so big.
And walking around like just like a super bizarre.
Yeah, the first time you see him, he's so out of place.
It's so weird.
Goofy.
It's so weird. And the prostitute, continues to mention his fada. His fada. Yeah, you're just like your father. And you're like, oh, well, who's this father? So, right. And by the way, all these people we've seen as red herrings also. Like, they showed these people constantly. The prostitute, the Frankenstein guy was seen walking around. So
the cow with the cleft tongue.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. The cow?
Yeah.
That was
the grossest part of the movie.
That was all the deformed animals. How about the cow with the second head? I don't think that was special effects.
No, those totally weren't.
Oh my God.
The cleft palate and the 2 heads. And side note, freak shows are super mean.
Oh, they're the worst.
Every time I'm looking at them, like, I feel so bad.
Even the animal ones, I was like,
yeah,
can you just put these animals
Quit
down
taking
or something?
advantage of these people.
And also, where does Tobe Hooper find all these people? Here's what I will give him credit for. He finds, well, up until later, he finds the best actors who are just the grossest looking people of all time, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're nobodies and they act their fucking balls off, or they're just acting like themselves. I don't know.
The father. He was perfect.
He was so good.
Yeah, he's perfect.
He was so fucking good.
No clue who he is. Yeah.
They're all just amazing. Oh my God. And oh my God. Oh God. And how, okay. I had so many notes about certain things. The strip club in the carnival. What? I had a real problem with that Okay, so first of all, not a fan of strip clubs in general. They're pretty bizarre. Okay,
Sure.
The concept is pretty out of control. I can't imagine going into a sweaty, hot tent, packed to the gills. This was like standing room only. There must have been 200 guys in this little tent, and it was just three women who looked older at best, decent bodies. So just standing around shaking, and every guy just screaming. Like, dude, if you were even there trying to enjoy this, you would have a guy spitting and smoking behind you and breathing on you and spitting all over you. It was the most.
Not to mention
vile
they're
thing.
right next to like the animal tents, so just
probably
stinks like manure.
That's so true. Like literally adjacent to mutant animals.
Yeah.
Who are probably just trying to sleep, and they have to listen to these guys be like, "Oh yeah, baby, take it off." Oh my god. And so the kids witness this murder inside the tents. And I mean, where does it go from there? How do we sum this up? So they kind of get caught. They're chased around for a bit by.
Well, they chase around because they end up stealing the Frankenstein's money because they find the safe and they want to get out of there. So there's money in it, so they take it. Frankenstein kills the fortune teller lady, prostitute. She's both.
Yeah.
For some reason. Fortune teller and a prostitute.
She doubles.
But he gets his father to come and help him clean up the mess, and then the father realizes the money's missing, and now the kids are on the lam trying to escape.
Yeah, and one of them drops the lighter, and that's how they realize they're in the room. I had a really hard time figuring out just where exactly everybody was.
Well, they're in the ceiling at some point.
Yeah, that's where I was confused, because at one point they're just in the ride.
Yeah.
And then somehow they're like in the same place. I thought it was the same place they were when it began. And I was like, oh, this is weird. And then it wasn't, though. They were in the ceiling because the dad's like, come down here. Like,
yeah,
we'll take it easy on you.
They make noise or drop something.
There's some cool deaths, though.
Very cool deaths. And when Frankenstein realizes that the money's missing, him bugging out and him taking off the mask is a fantastic scene.
Yes. The creature's face, I was a little disappointed in.
Oh, I loved it. I wasn't even expecting it, and I'd seen the movie.
I don't know. It was just a little disappointing to me. I mean, it was a great mask. I don't know. I guess I wanted more of a freak, because that was like a straight monster. I wanted more of I don't know, tortured soul.
What does he I'm thinking of something that I'd seen recently. I think I watched it with you, or we talked about it.
He honestly looked like Predator more than anything else.
Yeah. I can't think of it.
But there's some decent death scenes. I love that for a while in this movie, some guy with a fucking cleaver in his head is just riding around in the ride dead. And like, he just comes back every once in a while. Like, the ride will just fly by him and they'll be like, oh shit.
Yeah.
There goes Fred. He's fucking dead in this.
Dude, the funhouse itself was awesome. Like, the set design was awesome.
Very cool. Very cool setting. But overall, just not a great. I don't know. It just didn't do it for me. The final scenes in it, I'm trying to think about now. Okay, so she's the lone survivor, right?
Yeah.
And they're basically within the gears of the funhouse, like in the back, like everything's moving, and she's going up against this monster who could easily kill her. But how does she escape that? Do you remember? Oh, yeah. How did I forget this? He gets electrocuted. They're oh my gosh. Oh my god. Yeah, this is a really dumb ending. So Gunther is the name of the monster, by the way.
Nice.
Gunther and the lead are in the funhouse's maintenance area. Gunther gets electrocuted. I forget how, but then he gets stuck in between those two gears. Like,
Right.
Like, oh, and he's like dead on a hook, but he's still alive.
Yeah, it's like Die
somehow.
Hard.
Yeah. He's still alive. And then he finally gets electrocuted and then gets crushed in between the gear. And Amy leaves the funhouse however, and her family's all outside just waiting for her.
No, they came to pick up the brother.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So, underwhelming.
I really liked it, and I think it had some good scares too, like when the skeleton pops up.
The skeleton pops.
There's a skeleton when all the shit starts hitting the fan with the kids.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It hangs one of the kids.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Scared the balls out of me.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, again, not nowhere close to his worst. Not even remotely close to his worst. So he makes Funhouse 81.
Did you know he shot it in Miami because the child labor laws were the most relaxed in the U.S.?
No, I did not. But I also heard that he did that because that's where all the carnies went on their off season.
Carnies have an off season?
I guess the winter, and they all live down there, so he was able to like hustle them and get them for cheap, but not that cheap because it cost $7.8 million. Fucking so expensive. Is that more than Poltergeist's budget? Oh, it's pretty close, but $3 million shy of Poltergeist's budget.
Really?
Yeah, dude.
Wow. Yeah.
We're gonna get into that right now.
All right.
81 wraps up. He's done with Funhouse. And he gets, what would you call it? Like the break of the century. I don't even know if you call it a break because at this point he's pretty well deserving of a shot to make something big,
right?
To a wide audience. And I think he wanted to always make something if he wanted Texas Chainsaw to be PG,
I still think that's so fucking funny.
I think if he wanted it to be PG, he was trying to get an audience in front of his movies. So he gets the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
With Poltergeist. Written by Steven Spielberg. Directed by Steven Spielberg.
So there was a big controversy, which I'm not going to lie, I didn't know about this controversy until we started looking at, I guess it's common knowledge to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I did not know that. Yeah,
it was something I had read recently, but prior to these episodes. Really interesting. Really, really interesting. And what makes it beyond interesting to me is that everyone has a different opinion on it. And you can't tell who's just...
Yeah.
Hollywood's such a sensitive place. You don't want to go around bashing anybody. You really don't. It's not good form. Because everyone makes duds. So like, why shit on somebody for fucking something up?
Right.
When, you have, or everyone's done it. So I think that's that. But then when you get some really candid comments, they are very candid.
Yeah. Like the casting director said when asked, he said, "Did Tobe direct this film?" He said, "Not that I saw." The producer says, "It depends on your definition of direction." Joe Beth Williams, the actress of Poltergeist, says it was a collaboration with Steven having the final say. Yeah. So it's like a lot of people are saying and Toby's pretty mum about it. He never comes out and is like, "Fuck you guys, I directed the shit out of this."
I have some quotes from him that are pretty interesting. So, I think the biggest quote that is really reflective of this is from Spielberg himself. And he says, "Tobe isn't," and he hesitates, "a take charge sort of guy. If a question was asked and an answer wasn't immediately forthcoming, I'd jump in and say what we could do. Tobe would nod in agreement, and that became the process of collaboration."
Yeah.
That's from Spielberg himself. So right there, it's just the undertone of like, Spielberg was just standing next to him answering the questions.
Yeah, and there's some scenes where you see Spielberg's hands in the shot in the movie. So like why would you he's clearly directing it.
And Spielberg even took out a full page ad in Variety just to say Tobe Hooper directed this movie and I loved what he did with it.
Yeah.
Which is the most bizarre thing. When does that ever happen?
It doesn't.
No.
Yeah. And I don't. But the thing is, I don't understand, like, why any of this happened. Why didn't Spielberg just direct it himself?
I brought it up last time. I know that it was either pre or post production of E.T. at the time.
They both came out the same year.
Yeah, and so I think he thought he was going to be tied up with it, and then it ended up being he didn't need to be there that much.
But it's just so odd. Like, why does anyone need to talk about Tobe not being the director?
Or why wouldn't you have just waited to make Poltergeist?
Yeah, it's just very bizarre to me.
It's really weird. And there's a great quote from Tobe too, which I found pretty interesting. Tobe Hooper says, "I don't understand why any of these questions have to be raised. I always saw this film as a collaborative situation between my producer, my writer, and myself. Two of those people were Steven Spielberg, but I directed the film, and I did fully half of the storyboards. I'm quite proud of what I did. I can't understand why I'm being slighted. I love the changes that were made from my cut. I worked for a very good producer who is also a great showman. I felt that was a plus because Steven and I think in terms of the same visual style." You don't, but that's fine.
Okay, so I don't mean to slight him either, but visual style. If you look at Texas Chainsaw, if you look at the Funhouse, Eaten Alive, they all have the same type of direction. They all have the same type of colors used. They all have the same like set design.
I agree.
And then you look at Poltergeist, and it looks like E.T.
Yeah, it looks exactly like E.T. Looks exactly.
It's
like
a fucking Steven Spielberg movie.
Yeah, it truly is. And although you know what, when you bring up Toby's points, it kind of makes sense. Like this dude wrote and is a producer on it. And sometimes producers have more involvement than they should because usually they're not in a position to make good choices.
Right.
Like they're not that type of person. But in this situation, he's also like one of the best directors of all time. So you know what I mean? Like getting his help, why not?
No, I'm with you.
It's just a weird situation, but it's funny how mad people are. Craig T. Nelson actually defends him and says he's great. Frank Marshall kind of gives a a rough. He without saying too much, he basically says.
Well, he says straight up in quotes, the creative force of this movie was Steven. Tobe was the director and was on the set.
Yeah. Which
it's not glowing endorsement.
Now, my favorite one is Zelda Rubinstein.
Fuck Zelda.
Did you see her quote?
Yeah, I did.
Shits all over Tobe. Like,
accuses him of being a drug addict.
Ridiculous. She says, I can tell you that Steven directed all 6 days I was there. I only worked 6 days on the film, and Steven was there. Tobe set up the shots, and Steven made the adjustments. You're not going to hear that from Tobe Hooper. You'll hear it from Zelda, which don't call yourself like no. Because that was my honest-to-God experience. I'm not a fan of Tobe Hooper, which kind of makes me null and void this conversation.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a fan of her, because the scene that she was in lasted so fucking long and pissed me off so hard.
And Zelda basically says that he was abusing substances, which, I mean, isn't false because he entered rehab like immediately after the movie.
But why is she putting him on blast?
Yeah. Now, do we want to talk about Poltergeist or are we going to lose all of our fans?
I don't like it.
It is not very good.
I don't like it at all.
But I have a theory about it. Okay. Because obviously there's a huge amount of people that love this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame them. It's fine. Whatever.
I've seen way worse from Tobe Hooper.
And I don't blame them. I get it. It's a kind of like a classic thing. But I feel like if you'd already been introduced to horror movies prior to, and you kind of had this like acquired taste already, and then you saw Poltergeist, you were like, the fuck is this? Because it's E.T., but like just ghosts.
Yeah.
Instead, kind of. You know what I mean? It's just very in that vein, and it's corny.
I find it very corny.
It's super corny and cheesy special effects.
The first 30 minutes are like a slapstick comedy.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
And it's insanely boring.
The pace of that movie fucking crawls.
Brutal. It's brutal. And you think it's about to end, and then it goes on for another 45 minutes.
Yeah, I know. Get out of the house, and then there's still shit happening.
Yeah,
why?
It's crazy.
But the first 30 minutes, it starts off with some guy riding a bike and just crashing and hurting his nuts, and then like
it was the weirdest thing. And a dog burial.
Yeah, and the neighbors just
or not dog. It was a Was it a pet? No, because the dog is digging up. It was like a gerbil or something.
Something like that. But then the neighbors are they're having a war with their TV remotes, just turning to Mr. Rogers in a football game.
It's like the zaniest neighborhood.
5 minutes.
It was the zaniest neighborhood of all time. Guys just getting their nuts crunched on the street. And oh my God.
Wait, was it a canary?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
It was just corny as hell. Corny as hell. And the scene where the parents are smoking in the bedroom honestly felt like a 45-minute scene. And nothing was accomplished in it. I had no idea what the fuck they were talking about.
One of the few pros I'll give it is Craig T. Nelson does a fine job acting. He seems like a fine actor. But every scene that they're in, every dialogue, like, I don't care. I don't
care at all. They're talking about like swimming and diving. Dude, like, am I supposed to connect to these people?
I don't
like,
know. Our fans are probably going to be real mad.
Oh, they're going to be so mad. Although I did laugh at the scene where he's standing it was 3 seconds. He stands in the mirror and he's like, before and after. He sucks in his gut, expands it. And I only laughed so hard because his gut got so huge. He was not Coach at this point.
Yeah, but it's such a stupid scene. Also, the poltergeist sucks. It's the least scary poltergeist of all time. Stacking chairs.
Yeah. Cleaning the house.
But dude, the stairs are the chair. Yeah. He's cleaning the house. But he's not even doing it in a spooky way.
No.
Like, they turn around, there's just chairs stacked. I'd be mildly, like, annoyed.
Yeah. I also hate the little girl's voice. Oh, and that kid I can't stand.
I think the first time you hear her voice through the TV, it's kind of effective, but then it loses its charm.
I mean,
after the
I'm
50th.
I'm going overboard because I always do, but it's not terrible. It's just not. I don't know.
I have
It's
a
not
big
my
problem
taste.
with the neighbor being in their window eating their food and the lady not being upset about it.
There's so many scenes like that. That's just.
And I do not like the effects.
Which people love. People herald the special effects in this, and I can't figure that out.
Yeah. I mean, some people are saying that they're good for the time, but there's movies that had better effects at that time.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I mean, the budget, I guess, wasn't huge.
It's $10 million, but
Which that should be a lot.
that
a long
should
time
be a
ago.
lot back then. Yeah.
Because that tornado is the shittiest tornado.
Oh my
ever.
God.
I feel like the Wizard of Oz had a better tornado.
It's such garbage. It's such garbage. And remember, shit. Oh my God. I had a really awesome point to make, and I totally forgot what it was. Oh no. Oh God. Terrible. Oh, what was it? Damn it. This cat is killing itself. I don't know. But yeah, special effects not that great. Yikes.
And all the spooks, like floating toys, a tree with big hands.
It was just the tree batting the window. Just, oh, God. But yeah, I think if you saw that as a kid before you got into horror movies, or it was like your initial movie getting into horror movies, I think you liked it more.
Yeah, and that's fine because it is a horror movie for kids.
It is. It's a
And-
gateway.
And I'm guilty of it too. I'm totally okay with defending a movie that I saw as a kid that sucks. But
Yes.
I just loved it as a kid.
Yes. Them.
The giant ants.
The giant ants.
Yeah.
Or It's Alive with the stupid babies.
Fuck, I love that movie.
That movie is so good. We need to do that movie. That was a Monster Vision classic. And
There's
when I
3
saw
of
it on
them, I
there,
think.
yeah, there are. We should probably do 2 Island of the Alive because somehow
Yep.
they put all the babies on.
Yep, I'm 100%. We should just do a Larry Cohen because he's the guy that directed at least the first one. But he did Q, the Winged Serpent, and he did Stuff.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Wow, he's a
Bad director.
yeah. Oh man, we got to do that. So that's Poltergeist, and
But big hit for Toby.
huge
Talking
hit.
about
They
Toby.
make their money back 10 times over, making $121 million at the box office. Fucking insane.
Yeah.
And regardless of what they said at the time, you just made a hit. So, and you have Steven Spielberg as a friend. You think people would want this guy attached to everything.
This is where it gets really bizarre because
Yeah.
this seems like the biggest movie of his career is what ruined him. Because from right here that's it.
It is a downfall here. He goes on to sign a 3-film deal with canon.
Well, before he signed with Canon, he was going to make a direct sequel to Night of the Living Dead for $4 million budget. But you just came off Poltergeist. Like, why aren't people throwing money at him and being like,
it's really weird.
Just had a huge summer hit or whatever. It came
you
out,
made
a huge
10
hit.
times your amount back.
Yeah.
Why would he have done that?
I don't know. And I don't know, like, what the rumors about him not directing it was that did that happen immediate? Like, was
That's
he
what
getting
I'm curious.
blackballed or something?
If Spielberg put the ad in Variety, it had to have happened right then. I don't know. It's sad though. It's a weird situation. I don't even know if it's sad. It's just really weird.
It's just odd, yeah.
It's just really bizarre. Because look at the movies that get made now. If you make the biggest pile of shit work, you're going to get a huge movie.
If you turn
after.
a profit, you're making whatever you want to make.
It doesn't matter whether it's...
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really strange. But Tobe appears to get blackballed at this point. And... or maybe not. Maybe it doesn't appear that way at first, but I guess in hindsight, maybe. Because he signs this deal with Canon. 3 pictures. He will make...
One of them was supposed to be a Spider-Man film.
Which, can you fucking imagine?
I need to see a Tobe Hooper Spider-Man film.
So badly. It would just be...
Like a modern day one.
It would just be so weird. It would just be fucking terrible. So he goes on to make Life Force.
Invaders from
Mars. Which is a children's movie. And Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Life Force, I did not watch. I listened to the How Did This Get Made on it and decided, you know what? I could pass on this.
I watched it.
Vampires.
Space vampires. From Halley's Comet.
Yes. What'd you
they
think?
suck the life force out of you.
Well, there you go.
I don't know what I think, man. I didn't hate myself while watching it, so it wasn't like miserable.
That seemed like the consensus of the movie, which, How Did This Get Made it seem like it was unwatchable.
My opinion for that movie and Invaders from Mars are that they're perfectly watchable.
Yeah.
And I don't really understand what was happening.
There's a lot of people that like Life Force. They're not saying it's a good movie by any means, but they're like, it's ridiculous, but it's good.
So we talked about how Poltergeist didn't look like a Tobe Hooper film.
Yeah.
But Life Force totally looks like it. Like the way that it's shot and the way that the colors are used and everything. Like it's looks like it. And it moves along so much faster than Poltergeist does.
Yeah.
And it has Patrick Stewart, who vomits blood, which turns into a person.
Oh, perfect. Lots of nudity too, which starts becoming Toby's calling card.
Yeah, I read something where he was like demanding that this girl shaved her nether regions before every shoot.
Nether regions. And then he makes Invaders from Mars, which is a remake of a 1950s movie.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, and I saw an interview with him. He's like, I wanted to pay homage to that movie. And I was like, well, you just remade it. So, yeah. I guess that's paying homage. Like, paying homage is like, I'm going to make a sci-fi movie and use some scenes. Of this. Yeah, like that's paying homage. The credits to this movie were the most insane longest scene in movie history.
Oh, I agree.
It was the slowest thing. There's these big sweeping letters that come up into the screen and it says Invaders from Mars. And you're like, okay. And literally it takes so long for the text to get to the front of the screen and then it just sits there.
Yeah.
For a few seconds. And they do this for every single person's name. And it took forever.
Again, I thought it was a better children's movie than Poltergeist was.
And it's
rather watch
it's about these aliens that come to Earth and they are stealing copper because I guess they're bubbles from The Wire. And like copper? Like, only crackheads steal copper. What the fuck?
Bubbles.
Come to Earth to steal copper. This is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. I don't know if that was a thing in the 80s, though.
Well, this movie, the screenplay was written by Dan O'Bannon from Alien.
Oh.
Stan Winston.
I did know Stan Winston.
Did the visual effects.
Yeah. The cheese factor, though, is out of sight. But this is Body Snatchers.
But that's why I liked it, because it reminded me of a 50. It was a remake of one, but a 50s B movie.
That's the best part of this.
Yeah.
But I think I'd rather just watch the 50s B movie. Because I have an affinity to them. I just enjoy them.
I think I would too, but this was perfectly suitable.
Yeah, so basically these aliens land, they start infecting with a shot to the neck. They start infecting these people and basically taking over their bodies. And of course, first his parents go, they get infected and they start acting super weird. Eating raw meat and just pouring salt all over it. That was one of the most vile things. And also, these are aliens that flew, Lord knows how far away, in alien spacecrafts to come mine copper on planet Earth. And they can't figure out how to just act like a human being.
Yeah.
They're just super confused about that. They're just like, oh, shit. We have all this intelligence that they have all this copper. But by the way, what do you think they do when they saw pennies? Were they like, holy shit. Steal everyone's pennies.
Going around grabbing piggy banks.
Oh, man. The special effects in the final scene, the aliens themselves you don't really see until the very end.
Yeah.
And of course there's a cave because it's a Canon film, so there's got to be a cave.
Canon loves caves.
They do so much. Like weird, creepy caves with weird aesthetics. The monster aliens in this were the most disgusting things I've ever seen in my life.
A Stan.
They were great, though.
Yeah.
They were fucking great. The little brain.
little Krang.
Oh, man. It is. It's Krang, right? It's Krang. And then there's these dog aliens, which are just mouths. Mouths with 4 legs. It is absolutely fucking disturbing. The worst part about this, though, is the end. And you have this huge battle. The military goes into the cave. They start shooting everything up. Ultimately, human race wins. Aliens are done. They blow them up. That's a wrap. And all the humans that were infected are now free.
Yeah.
They're all free. And then the kid wakes up and it was all a dream.
I did not like it either.
Fuck.
It's frustrating.
But wait, it gets so much fucking worse. So the kid wakes up, it's a dream, and then the parents are like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And he's like, oh, I just had this fucking terrible nightmare. I'm like, oh, here's the swerve. They're still aliens.
Yeah.
Nope, they're totally not. And they are just humans. And they're like, oh, let's drink it and have hot chocolate. And you could tell us the entire story of your dream, which they like do that weird fade. Like he's been talking for over an hour.
Yeah.
In the middle of the night.
I know.
And the parents are like, wow, Billy, that was a crazy dream. I'd be like, dude, shut the fuck up. Go back to fucking bed.
Yeah.
All right. Why rehash this nightmare? The parents go to bed. Billy goes to bed, and then the fucking aliens come down again. It's literally the beginning of the movie again. I was so fucking angry. And he runs to his parents' room to tell them that the aliens are here, and he just lets out this blood-curdling scream. We don't know what he sees, but we imagine they're aliens again. Or something. Yeah. And that's the wrap. That's the end of the movie. So
it was a frustrating ending.
It was so obnoxious. I wanted to punch Tobe Hooper in the face so bad.
But I didn't hate the movie.
No, it's not bad. Like you said, it's just a 50s movie. I think I'd rather just watch the 50s movie, though.
Fair enough.
So, 1986, Invaders from Mars. That was that. Follow up to Life Force. This is where he makes 3 movies in the span of 2 years.
Which, to his credit, like, they're not great movies, but they're not total dog shit.
No.
How did he do that?
Well, cocaine. It's the 80s, and that's slander, but I don't know if that's true. That's allegedly. It's not even allegedly. I'm just saying. I'm making a joke. God damn it. Anyway, so he makes 3 movies.
We're really going to lose Toby as our listener.
Yeah, I know. Go fuck yourself. But it just sums up the 80s to me, like, especially this mid 80s. Like, this dude makes 3 movies in 2 years. That's just the epitome of the 80s. And they're these like larger than life, fucking ridiculous fucking movies. Like, and the true epitome of excess is Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, a sequel to one of the most brilliant movies of all time. And beautiful movies in a way, like just well shot, simple, very, very simple, to a fault simple.
Agreed.
And they take this story
and just shit on it.
Just shit all over it. Just like diarrhea all over.
Like Leatherface and
crazy.
his family in the first one have this like mysterious mythos about them. They're like, who are these people? Why are they like this?
Yeah.
And he gives you why they're like this in this movie, and you're like, stop. I don't want to see this anymore. I don't want to know anything about them anymore.
It's crazy. The craziest thing about this is there's such a backlash whenever a movie is remade or whenever there's a fucking sequel to something people love. It's immediately shit on. Somehow, people love this sequel.
But it wasn't at first, though.
No, you're right. You're right.
It's
It's gathered, but I mean, it is absurd. This is what people's nightmare is when you hear like, oh, they're making a sequel to The Godfather. This is what people are afraid of. This is what people are terrified of. And to my knowledge, it's only happened this time. Like, I can't really think of a sequel that is this different than the original. That just takes the original and is just like...
That's a good question. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, that is just like, fuck it, blow it up.
Yeah. That's what they do.
Oh, yeah, 100%. This movie is excess on excess on excess.
And what you're saying about having a big following, I was reading many, many people's reviews who were calling it their favorite horror movie of all time.
That's stupid.
Of all time. Not the first one. This one's your favorite movie of all time?
You know what? I have a question for you. Do you know what the story in this is? Like, that was a cat's head banging against the ground, by the way, folks. But do you know what the story is on this? Like, could you tell me why people are doing things in this?
Nope. Dennis Hopper is trying to solve the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 12 years before.
But, like, that is almost the smallest part of this story. But the only linear thing, right? Like, our story is a DJ. I mean, that is the story.
Yeah, but he's like barely in the movie.
But he's barely in the movie, right? That's what I'm saying. The story is Dennis Hopper is trying to figure out.
Yeah, the real massacre is Dennis Hopper's chainsaw skills.
Oh my god! Oh no, the real massacre is the opening intro that tried to mimic the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and
with the boys driving.
No. The text.
Oh. Yeah.
I'm trying to see my notes on this because I just want to.
See, I like that part though because it was like the same. You're like, okay, this. Might be...
No. Okay, yeah. All right, here's my notes. Okay, sorry. So we get the scrolling text, very similar to the first. So it's, which by the way, this is so different than the first. Why even do that? Like, why even do this? Except this scrolling text is like a novel. The first one was a very quick synopsis, and it's like basically like, by the way, this is a true story. It's fucked up. That's it. This is like a fucking novel, and it's just talking nonstop. It's just like it's telling this backstory about
in that mumblecore voice.
Oh yeah, and that which is a bad ripoff of the first one, and they're talking about what's the main girl's name in the first one? Sarah? No. Susie? Sarah? We're fucking terrible. Anyway, playing. So they tell her whole backstory. Franklin and Susan? I don't know. Anyway.
Roll with it.
Yeah. Anyway, but they're telling her entire backstory after what happened. And they're like, oh, she went catatonic and stopped talking. And now they can't figure out where they live. But things keep happening. And it's just long story. But even worse is there's phrases like, her brother and her friends were hecked up for barbecue. Well, how'd you know if you never found the fucking crime scene?
Yeah.
All you found was the girl.
Why wouldn't you find the crime scene? It was at their fucking house. Why would they move? Did they explain it in this one? Why
did they find her far away? A guy picks her up at the end. That guy could have been like, oh yeah, I found her right here.
It was Sally, by the way.
Sally. They find her the guy finds her in the street. She jumps in the back of the truck. They drive away. That guy just had no idea where he was. Driving around.
Yeah.
Police, where'd you find her? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm not trying to pick this apart because it's obviously they didn't give a fuck. Obviously they did not give a fuck. But it didn't belong in this movie that's scrolling, other than to say, like, hey, remember the first one? This is a sequel to that. It might not seem that way, but this is a sequel to that. That's the only reason it's there. But yeah, so this story is Dennis Hopper. He's a police officer, sheriff type thing, and he wants to figure out these crimes. Basically, he's claiming the government is kind of pushing these aside, trying to cover it up because they're too afraid of the world to know. And Dennis Hopper's going to figure it out. And you don't really see Dennis Hopper that often.
No, you don't. And when you do, he's just hacking the shit out of wood with a chainsaw.
Yeah, that happens.
He's using the chainsaw so, I don't even know, so wrong.
You know,
just like punching wood with a chainsaw.
Yeah, I know. And what was also great was, you know, when you they call them like tire kickers when you go to buy a car, like your dad kicks the tires as if he can figure out or you touch the car as if you're gonna figure something out,
right?
About that.
That's what he's doing with chainsaws.
That's what he's doing with chainsaws. He's just picking them up and kind of shaking
using
them.
2 hands.
and a chainsaw in each hand.
And he turns them both on, and he just yeah. But the way he's using it. I don't know if Dennis Hopper's ever used a chainsaw.
No, I don't think so.
He's been acting for a long time, so I don't think he's ever had to do any physical work. Because he's just bouncing the blade. It's so dangerous to do that.
Oh, it's
the
so
blade's
dangerous.
Snap off.
It's so dangerous. And even better is the owner of the store being like, woohoo!
He's laughing so hard.
I'd be so pissed. I'd be like, sir, you need to fucking...
You're buying both of these.
Yeah,
Get the fuck off my property.
I'm not taking these back. But don't worry, Dennis Hopper does buy them.
I'm going to jump around here because this movie is just ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
Dennis Hopper buys those. You don't see him for 45 minutes.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, he's at Leatherface's house.
Everyone is.
And he's just cutting down the supporting beams that aren't supporting anything.
Dude. And just fucking ruining everything. Dude, I was so confused.
And I think he's trying to sneak up on them. But he has a fucking chainsaw. Which makes a lot of noise. And he's chopping down their house.
So much noise. They're so fucking loud. So... boy. So the scene at the beginning, we're introduced to our lead female, who I can't think of her name either. Guys, I'm so fucking tired. It's some dumb name. Lefty? Is that her name?
I think it is.
Yeah.
I don't know either.
So she is a radio host. And she gets a call in from the 2 most obnoxious human beings on
Fuck
Earth.
These kids.
Dude, I wanted them dead so bad. They're shooting guns.
Shooting guns out of the window.
Open.
Driving on the wrong side of the road towards
Playing
other
chicken.
cars. Yeah.
Running people off the road. But they're confronted by a
Dennis
truck.
Hopper's lefty.
Oh. So what's her name?
Stretch.
Stretch, yeah. Hey, Stretch! Oh my God, these kids were the fucking shits. And they're calling into this radio station harassing Stretch. Stretch and Lefty. What the fuck, Tobe Hooper? What are you doing? What are you doing? You start with this movie that the quality is how simple it is and so realistic, and Sally and Franklin and these basic names, and now we've got
and
Stretch
they're just on a
Lefty.
nice. They're the first one starts off with just kids on a nice road trip, normal people, and then this one just has kids driving like maniacs, shooting guns into the open.
And nothing is subtle about this movie. There's nothing subtle. No. These kids are driving like assholes, calling into the radio station. They call in again, but while they're calling in, they're confronted by this car who's blocking the road on a bridge. And they're saying, get the fuck out of the way. They start driving. The truck starts driving in reverse, parallel to them. And somebody is on the top of the truck. And it's just like a corpse holding a chainsaw.
Yeah. It's exactly what it is. It's a corpse.
Except the corpse is very clearly attached to a sheet.
Yeah.
With somebody under it. And you're just like, well, It's a Leatherface. But why is he doing this?
Why is he doing this?
And sure enough,
This wasn't a
the
goofball in
sheet
the first
eventually
one.
falls off. I think they like shoot.
No, they
the
shoot
sheet
it,
off.
which I'll give Toby credit because the way that it looked when they shot the face and then you just see Leatherface's was kind of cool.
Kind of cool, but just literally made no sense.
But why wouldn't you just have Leatherface pop
He's
up?
terrifying. Why is Leatherface
He's wearing a dead skin mask.
Leatherface?
Leatherface is the scariest thing you can see.
Is one of the most terrifying villains of all time, and he's hiding behind a sheet with like a shitty.
It's less scary that he's playing with a corpse first, like hiding behind.
Well, I mean,
like a
first of
puppet.
all, if you're a kid and you see that, you're thinking it's obviously just a
So
decoration.
if you're seeing a movie called The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, you know that Leatherface is probably going to be in it.
Yeah, and probably the guy holding a chainsaw on the back of a truck. I mean, like, that's what is happening? What the fuck is happening? And they kill these kids brutally with a chainsaw. They're just
Well, he fucking cuts the car
yeah.
for like 5 minutes. He cuts the door off.
There's just so many problems with it. Like, again, the
Remember when
beauty
we were
of
going to make that book of like horror?
oh yeah, questions. Unanswered
can
questions.
you cut a
You
cut
destroy
door
a car, like literally just
with a
destroy a
chainsaw?
car. No, I don't think that.
I
No.
think it's just going to spark.
It would take
make
hours.
a lot of noise.
It would take so long. Even if it did work, it would take so long and so many blades.
Well, that's the thing that Leatherface has clearly been using a chainsaw for a very long time.
Oh yeah,
In this movie, he appears to have no clue what he's fucking doing because there's a scene later on when he's in the radio hall, whatever you call it. And he's just fucking trying to cut down a steel door, which is like a foot thick.
it's so
He's
weird.
trying it for
Yeah,
like 10 minutes.
He does not know the
And
boundaries.
he finally busts in through like the wood, you know.
I mean, you could say he's like inbred and doesn't understand, but I mean, you gotta.
He's been using a chainsaw for years, Sean. He did it fine in the first movie. No problem.
And one of our fans made a great
And
point.
he's about to kill the girl, and he's just cutting Coca-Cola cans and ice cubes. What are you doing, Leatherface? The first movie, he didn't hesitate at all.
No,
This one, he's just
hitting people in the head with hammers and
he's just-
getting the job done.
yeah.
He's
This
like, oh, bong.
This one, he's sticking his chainsaw into a
Yeah.
vat of ice cubes.
Yeah, and one of our fans made a great point that the original is very much almost like a home invasion movie. These kids are in his house, and that's why he's reacting. In this one, they're just out.
Yeah.
Leatherface is just out driving around huge trucks with his buddy or brother or whatever.
Chop Top. And why is Chop
the
Top
fucking
there?
worst.
Why
Chop
is Chop
Top's the
Top
fucking
there?
worst. Chop Top fucking sucks. I'm sorry, Bill Moseley. Chop Top.
Listen,
Wait, in another movie, you throw Chop Top in another movie that's not Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and I'm cool with it.
I'm not. Chop Top fucking sucks.
Wait, you mean you don't like a Vietnam vet that is also maybe dead?
I fucking hate him. So when you first see Chop Top, so we're jumping all around, but I don't care.
Oh my god. Well, let me just say, before we get to Chop Top, I'll just say one thing. We'll go straight to him, just to move it along the story along. So, Spaz or Lefty or whatever their fucking name, Stretch. Here's this murder over the radio. Everyone hears it. That's how she gets involved with Lefty. Lefty wants her help in figuring out who and why this has happened. We're also introduced to this guy, and this is where I mean it's not subtle. The chili king of Dallas, who is making chili, and he wins this chili contest and says, "The secret's in the meat. Don't skip on the meat. I've got a great eye for meat. Runs in the family. This town loves prime meat." Okay. I think we got it. I think we figured it out. If this was supposed to be like, if the reveal was supposed to be that we're eating humans, it's the shittiest reveal of all time. That guy just gave it away in 3 seconds.
And it's the cook from the first one. So
Yes.
you already know that.
Yes. So yeah, exactly.
His name's the fucking cook.
So he, so now we're introduced to him. We know he's involved in it. And Lefty gets Stretched to play the audio again because they think if they play the audio of the incident, these guys will come out and that'll give Dennis Hopper the opportunity to catch him and put an end to all of this. And it kind of works in a way. They hear it.
And they come.
Dad gets pissed and they show up at the radio station. It's Chop Top specifically.
And in Chop Top's the only time I'll defend Chop Top is the first time you see him, like the mood's different and he's talking slow and he's kind of creepy and he's picking at his head and he's eating it and like he's talking calmly and you're like, okay, you know what, this might be a little creepy. And then Leatherface comes out and it's a legit jump scare. You're like, all right, this is kind of getting sweet here.
Yeah.
And then he just turns into the biggest Chop Top, turns into the most I said in my letterbox, it's like Robin Williams and Jim Carrey.
Oh God,
like, just
Jim Carrey could totally play him.
Times a billion because he's so obnoxious. He's shouting things. Oh, gee, man. Leatherface! Oh, Leatherface, you hurt my plate. You dented my plate. Lick my plate, dog dick.
Oh, Leatherface, I gotta go to the VA now. Like he's like, do you think that was ad libs?
It has to be
because it's so stupid.
When you first meet him, he's talking like a normal human being, like calm and creepy. And he just turns it up to a billion for no reason at all.
Yeah, when he first is talking, he's like, "Oh, I heard you play something. I want you to play my favorite song." Like, and you're like, "Oh shit, this is unsettling." Like, he's like, because she's like, "Why the fuck are you here? It's midnight." And he's like, "Oh, I've got a request."
And he wants a tour.
Yeah. And and then Leatherface comes, dents his plate, and this dude just loses his proceeds to lose his mind for the rest of the movie. It's just nonstop screaming, "Leatherface!"
Bubba's got a girlfriend.
Oh yeah.
Shut up.
Dude, do not give Leatherface a name.
Bubba.
Why? Why'd you have to do that? It was fine without a name.
Yeah. But who is Chop Top? He's not in the first one.
No.
Unless the original idea was the hitchhiker who got run over because he has the plate. But they must have scrapped it at the storyboard because he's a Vietnam vet.
You see these movies where they're clearly like aiming to like, we got to get some action figures made and some merchandise. And that's what this feels like. But they were not going to be making action figures of this movie. So I don't know what these characters are here for. And Leatherface becoming, I mean, Frankenstein or of Mice and Men, Lenny. That's what he is, right? He's this brutal killer, but
he just wants love.
He just wants love, and he no. It's fucking terrible.
Yeah,
and so basically, this is where the story becomes really convoluted. They come in. How does she even get away from? She gets away from the radio station.
Oh, because the guy. Oh, because Leatherface lies.
Oh, right.
Leatherface tells Chop Top
they're all
that he
dead.
kills him.
Yeah, that's right. But then she ends up back at their house, right?
Yeah.
and then so does Lefty.
Lefty just shows up. I don't know. Lefty's been looking for them.
Well, Lefty she's at the house. And then Lefty is following her in his car, but I think she thinks there's somebody else because then she falls down that hole and Lefty like tries to save her. It's the weirdest fucking thing. And it's the weirdest fucking thing. And again, these sets are just...
Oh, and going back to Leatherface being an asshole in this one, he's using this chainsaw as a dick.
Oh, yeah.
Like he's putting it towards his pelvis and shaking his hips, like thrusting with a chainsaw.
Yeah.
Why is he doing that?
I don't know. This movie just really, I mean, if you really like this movie, there's just a problem there.
And when Lefty comes to their house, he screams, "Bring it all down," for at least 45 minutes. He's bringing nothing down. I already said that before. He's cutting beams that aren't supporting anything. He's in a fucking cave.
I would honestly rather they call this just a remake because it's not a sequel. And at least a remake, like you're doing it in your own vision. It's insane that Tobe Hooper made this movie.
I know.
I don't know what else to say about it besides that.
What about the end? What about the final scene?
Dude, okay. Well, yeah. So they go into Leatherface's house for whatever reason. Like you said, Dennis Hopper is fucking cutting beams, which is super weird because he sees her there. She also gets captured and is made to wear a dead skin mask also from Leatherface.
All right, that scene wasn't terrible.
No, that was actually the best scenes in the movie where when she's captured. And she's made to, I think the mask is her.
It's her friends.
Yeah, it's her
also
friend's
there.
Face. Yeah.
And still talking without a face.
And But Dennis Hopper sees her and then proceeds to still cut the beams down and block her exit. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a twist. And Dennis Hopper is actually not trying to catch them. And Dennis Hopper is like
Part of the family.
Part of the family.
See, that would have been cool.
Right.
But instead, no. They just have a chainsaw duel.
No, he shows up and they just fight. Like, well, first of all, they just repeat the dinner scene.
Yep. And Dennis Hopper, Dennis Hopper, he just like gently pokes the cook in the butt with his chainsaw. It's just like not enough to kill him, just enough to like hurt his butt.
It was so weird. It was the weirdest thing of all time.
And they literally have a sword fight with chainsaws,
which is just painful to watch.
And Leatherface is so big. Like, why would he not just like one swing would knock it out of Dennis Hopper's hands? You know,
just hit each other with it.
Just fucking having a sword
it's so
fight.
much harder to play swords than just throw the fucking chainsaw at them.
Or like swinging his leg or something. Why they're aiming for each other's chainsaw?
Yeah, it is crazy. Yeah.
And then,
So-
well, he finally brings it all down. I've been yelling for 40 minutes because the cave collapses.
The cave collapses.
And Chop Top chases our heroine up to the top of the cave.
Dude, this is the craziest scene. Okay, well, she kills Chop Top, but they're not in a top. They are at the top of a cave, but it's also a castle. That's a castle that she's like standing.
Oh, I know.
Fucking like, is that the same set as Masters of the Universe?
Wow.
It might be
Because that was a canon film, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So like, what are they doing? Why is Leatherface in a castle? Like in the, it's the weirdest thing. And she is there with her chainsaw, doing probably her best Leatherface imitation,
Yeah, because Chop Top falls down and she's
Yeah.
swinging it around wildly.
like Leatherface,
Just
does,
like Leatherface.
except really badly. It looks so bad. It's not even enjoyable to look at.
It's so stupid.
It is incredibly stupid.
One last parting thought. Can we talk about the DVD cover? Or the poster?
So good.
Why are they posed like the Breakfast Club? Leatherface is, as we said, is one of the most terrifying guys of all time. And he has his hand up like he's fucking Judd Nelson.
And they're partying.
And Grandpa's Ali Sheedy.
It's the worst thing. It's the worst thing. It's incredible. Like, I would like to have that poster, but that's like a poster like you see online like years after when it's developed this cult following and somebody just makes a funny poster.
Yeah.
With the characters. And you're like, that's fucking cool. Not the theatrical release poster. You're supposed to be scaring people. You're supposed to be getting people to come in and see this.
It's the fucking Breakfast Club.
Oh my God. That's it, guys. So that's Tobe Hooper of the 80s. He is entering some very strange territory at this point. And not to spoil anything, but things go downhill. Well, not quickly, but
Yes.
things are about to take a turn.
What do you mean?
Well, I guess, yeah, it's pretty quickly.
Very quickly.
Things are about to take a major, major turn, though. So next week's episodes, we are going to be diving into the 90s. We are entering the 90s for Tobe Hooper. We'll be talking about The Mangler, the film from 1995. Tales from the Crypt episode, Dead Weight, which is season
3, episode 6.
6, okay. And Freddy's Nightmare, the pilot, season 1, episode 1. We will not be talking about Night Terrors because
We can't find
it's
it.
literally impossible to find, and we're not paying for it because apparently it's like one of the worst movies ever made. But check that stuff out, guys. We're really excited to continue on with this. I think the next episode's going to be pretty interesting. It's going to be very interesting. Who am I kidding? It's going to be great. But that's all we have. Check us out on Facebook.com/IHateHorror. Rate, review, subscribe on iTunes, of course. We're on Stitcher. We're on this other service somebody just reminded me that we're on. I can't remember. But if you search any podcast directory, we're pretty much there. So Stitcher, iTunes, rate, review. If you do, send us a message and we'll get you some stickers out. I sent a shitload of stickers out this week. So thanks for the reviews, guys.
Yeah,
it was really awesome. Anything else?
Nah.
Before we wrap up? Oh, check out our Facebook page. A fan of ours, David Vincent, did a write-up on his thoughts on our last episode, that initial Tobe Hooper era, especially Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
And it is so fucking good.
Great read.
It's too long to read on the show, but it is amazing to read. So check out our Facebook page. It's awesome. People been leaving awesome comments. So make sure you do that. Twitter.com. Twitter. I'm on Twitter at I Hate Horror Show.
I'm at JoV421.
And our new email, don't send to the old email, is IHateHorrorShow@gmail.com. That's it, guys. So for Joe, this is Sean. Stay weird.
Thank you.
Adios. Tobe makes a huge splash in the 80s and enters the 90s in a much different way. On the next episode, we will be discussing Freddy's Nightmares, Season 1, Episode 1, Tales from the Crypt, Dead Weight, and the 1995 film The Mangler.